In this video, we're going to look at stative compound verbs in Pashto. Now, the last video was about dynamic compound verbs, which are about doing something, like kar kawal is to do work, or pochtana kawal is to do a question or to ask a question. So this is different now. We're talking about stative compound verbs, and stative compound verbs are a little bit more complicated because instead of just doing an action, we're going to talk about changing something into a different state. That's why we call it stative. Like if we melt something, we're changing the ice into water, putting it into a different state. So it's going to be a little bit more complicated. Let's have a look. Let's start with a simple example, and let's look at the word, this compound, starikidal. So here we have, this is the verb for to get tired, to get worn out. You have the adjective, which is the complement here, is stare, and then the verb is kidal. Now notice here, this kidal, this is not kidal to happen, that takes the wu prefix. This is kidal to become, which does not take the wu prefix. So with a stative compound, like a stative compound verb like starikidal, then we are saying someone or something is becoming tired. You're going to become complement tired. So we're talking about someone changing into a different state. They're changing into being tired. So we just say become tired. And this works out pretty simply with all the verbs. If you say I became tired, you say zastarikigam. And if we say we are becoming tired, mungstarkigu, like that. Now let's have a look at how this actually gets built up. So let's look at phrases, and let's say that I am getting tired. I am getting tired. Zastarikigam. So there's a few things to notice about this. So depending on who gets tired, it's going to change. The verb's going to change, but also the complement is going to change. Look at this. This is an adjective, and so it's saying I'm getting tired. Zastarikigam. But if I'm a woman getting tired, if I'm female getting tired, zastarikigam. It changes a little bit from masculine to feminine, like that. And if it's plural masculine, mungstarkigu. So it changes there to agree with the masculine plural, like that. So that is one thing to notice. The other really interesting thing, if we look at the blocks here, the complement, this stare, is actually welded in with the verb into one block here. So this means that you can't stick anything in there. Like if you were to say, I'm not getting tired, let's add the negative in. The negative goes in here. It can't go in there because this is one block. So you say, zanastarikigam. You can't say, zastarikigam. That's wrong. You have to say, zanastarikigam, like that. And the other thing is that, look at the accent here. For stare, normally has an accent there, right? But here, because it gets welded to this part, this thing here, it lost its accent here. Zanastarikigam, like that. If it's positive, then the accent goes zastarikigam, like that. And if it's negative, the negative takes the accent away. So don't worry too much about that details, but it's just to point something out. This is some cool stuff going on there. But yeah, don't worry if not all of that made sense. The point is that this is welded in to the complement is welded into the verb. It becomes like one block. But it's not when we use the perfective side. So if we were to say something with the subjunctive, then it changes. Then it's zastarisham. So it's like that I should get tired, I will get tired. So zastarisham, then here we have two blocks. So with a negative, zastarinisham, then the negative comes in over there. But if it's present, zanastarikigam, the n can't go in between those two parts. They only break off with the perfective aspect. So in the perfective, boom, those are broken off into two things. The same thing with the past tense. So if we use our continuous past, the imperfective aspect, using the imperfective aspect, then we have za sturdy ki dalam. I got tired, or za sturdy ki dam. You can do long or short. So za sturdy ki dam, I was getting tired. And then if it's negative, za nasturdy ki dam. Za nasturdy ki dalam. So za sturdy ki dam, I was getting tired. Za nasturdy ki dam, I was getting tired. And remember, if you're a girl, it changes a bit. Sturdy, a little bit. And so, but let's go on to the perfective side, and let's do a simple past, then watch what happens. Then these two things are split apart. Za sturdy nishwam. Za sturdy nishwam. So, za sturdy shwam, I got tired. Za sturdy nishwam, I did not get tired. So we can see that this is made up of, these verbs are made up of a complement and a verb. And these two things are welded together on the imperfective side, but they're broken apart on the perfective side. And then this thing acts just like a perfective head for other kind of verbs. So that is cool. Same thing with when we use the perfect thing, then it's also welded together like that. So zaneam sturdy shivi, you can't say za sturdy neam shivi, because you can't break these two things apart. So that's something that's important to learn for learners, is that sometimes we'll make the mistake of breaking these things apart when you cannot break the things apart unless you're using the perfective stems or root, unless you're in the perfective aspect. So another thing to notice is that, so we saw how it welded, but it actually will squish together even more using the imperfective stems and roots if we use some verbs. So if we have, let's say, heirani dal. Here we have heiran and to become. So to become amazed or surprised or whatever. Notice here, these things are really shoved together. Heiranigi. So we have, if we look at our charts, let's look at our present cards. Heiranigam, I am getting surprised. So it's not, we don't see heirankigam, it's heiranigam. What happens is if you have a noun or an adjective that ends in a consonant or a schwa, then you'll drop off the kaf here, and it'll just be idal. So heiranidal, heiranidal or heiranigi, like that. So let's look at the phrases. So if I am amazed or I'm being amazed, zaheiranigam, I'm surprised. Basically, I'm surprised. But if we do the subjunctive, boom, it splits apart. See that? Zaheirancham is subjunctive, and the present tense, zaheiranigam. So it's all welded together into one thing. Same thing with the past tense. With the continuous past, zaheiranidalam or zaheiranidam. And with the simple past, zaheiranshwam, like that. Zaheiranshwalam. So same thing. It breaks apart on the perfective side and it stays welded together on the imperfective side. But if we have a noun or an adjective as the complement, it'll really squish together. Like pachidal. So here we have poch and kidal. And notice we take of the poch inflections, we take like this first little part, pach, like that. And that gets squished together and we say za pochshram, I got cooked. Or let's say they, something, hahui pachigi, it's cooking, they're cooking, like that. So the poch gets squished right up into pach, like that. And then when it gets separated, hahui pachashi, so that they should be cooked, like that. Then it separates again. So always, 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 it squishes together on the imperfective side, It's welded together, including like with the past participle and the imperfected. These things are squished together and welded together. And on the perfective side, it breaks off into two blocks like that. And the other thing to remember is that this complement will change depending on the thing that is being modified. So here our subject is being cooked. So if I say, let's make some food. Let's say if I say the bread, dode pachashi. So the bread should be cooked. Let's do past tense. So if we say the bread was cooked, dode pachashwa, like that. But if let's say it's rice, and we have riji pacheshvi, like that. The rice was cooked. Or if it's potatoes, alu, let's make them plural, alugan pacheshu. So the potatoes, let's look at it like this, pacheshwal or pacheshu. So depending on what we're cooking, this complement is going to change. So this inflects according to the thing being changed. If I say something broke, like let's say mati dal. So let's say what broke? Let's say the cup broke. Piala matashwa. So here the complement is this adjective, and it agrees with the thing being broken. If we make it plural, we'll say the cups broke, piale matishwe. Then you can't say piale mata shwe, it's piala mate shwe, because the complement is going to agree with whatever is being changed. But if the complement is a noun, then it does not change. This is really interesting. So if I say, for instance, pelidal, to start. So if I say, let's say the program, let's say, oops, spelling that wrong. So no, that's let's translate it to distribution here, but it's also program. So khbarawana peligi. So the program khbarawana, or the distribution, but we'll translate it as program here. Khbarawana peligi. And let's say it is simple past. So khbarawana pelshwa. The program started. We don't say khbarawana pelashwa, because pel here is a noun, not an adjective. And this is a bit weird for English brains to wrap their head around, because we think that we'd always say the program became started or was started. But here it's like the program was beginning. It doesn't make sense in English, but in Pashto, you can use nouns as your complement. So that's basically, sorry, it's a lot of information. You can keep on reading up on this in the grammar, but these stative compounds are a bit complicated, a bit more complicated than dynamic compounds. But just keep on reading about it and playing with it until you really understand how they work. So they can also be transitive, right? We were talking about the intransitive things becoming something, but we can also talk about making things something. Like if I say sturdy kawal, to make tired, or to tire someone, or to wear them out. Now we're talking about not just someone becoming tired, but we're talking about like putting someone in the state of being tired, making someone tired. So we have sturdy, and then we have kawal now. Instead of kidal, we're using kawal. And remember, this kawal here is to make. It's not kawal to do, like an action activity. It's kawal to make. Remember the to do version, that has a wu prefix in front of it. This is to make, and it does not. So to make, sturdy kawal. So if I say you are making me tired. Let's say present. Ta ma sturdy kawe. And if I'm a woman, I'll say te ma sturdy kawe. Kawe, sorry, pronunciation was bad. Like that. So it changes a little bit. So here we have our subject is you, object is ma, and then a complement, again, welded in here because we're on the imperfective side. And the complement is going to agree this time with the object because the object is the thing being transformed, right? So if you're making a female tired, it's going to change a little bit. Or if you're making a male tired, it's going to change a little bit. Or if you're making us tired, it's going to change like that. And so let's say if we do subjunctive, te ma sturdy, that's subjunctive. So it splits again because now we're using the perfective. Let's go to past examples. So if I say ta z sturdy or ta z sturdy, this is using the same past tense verb structure. You can go back and watch that video about how the verb phrase structure changes with the past tense. But here we have, we just have a subject, an object, and a complement, and then the verb. So the complement there here is going to be changing according to the object because that's the thing that's being changed. So simple past, look at, we have sturdy and krum here are separated because we're in the perfective, but if we go over to the imperfective with our continuous past, they're going to stick together. Ta z sturdy kawilam. And notice the accent is gone, it's welded. You cannot stick something in between. So if we add a negative in there, ta z sturdy kawilam, you weren't making me tired. You can't say ta z sturdy kawilam. That's wrong. You have to say ta z sturdy kawilam, like that. And also, if we go to shorten things up, like let's say if we take the king out, ta sturdy kawilam, or if we take the mini pronoun, then it's zdi sturdy kawilam. But if we remove the king and shrink the servant, then we can say sturdy kawilam de. You can't say sturdy de kawilam. You have to say sturdy kawilam de because this is, you can't stick anything in here. If we do simple past, then these two things are separated. So ta z sturdy kralam, if we shrink it up like this, sturdy de kralam, then you made me tired. Sturdy de kralam, look at the kids section is after the first block here, but if it's a continuous past, then it's sturdy kawilam de. The kids section is after, this thing is all one big block like that. Let's look at another example. So if we say matawal, to break, let's say I broke, let's say I broke the cup, piala, the cup like this. Ma piala matawala. So I was breaking the cup. Notice here, this doesn't inflect here because it's stuck together. It's smushed together with the kawil. So we have, because then we have an adjective ending in a consonant, it's stuck together with the kawil. So you can't inflect it because it's smushed together. But if it's separated, if we take the perfective aspect, let's take a simple past. Ma piala matakra. Matakra, like that. So now this is, when this separates, we can inflect it. So yeah, we can shorten it down again. So matakra, if you know that it's the piala me matakra, or you can make it like this, mata mekra. So the me goes in the kids section. If you say I didn't break it, mata me nakra, like that. But if it's a continuous past, these things are going to get welded together, and it's mata willame, like that. So that's basically stative compounds. Sorry, this is a pretty dense video. There's lots to go on about it. Lots we talked about, but you can read up in the grammar and just try to understand bit by bit what's all going on with the stative compounds, and over time you'll get used to them. And really, really common in Pashto. So it's definitely worth the time to try to understand what's happening with these.